I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
What is wrong with me?
A show about the ways that mental illness is shaped by not just biology,
swaps of different meds,
but by culture and society. By looking closely at the conditions that cause mental distress, I find out why so many of us are struggling to feel sane, what we can do about it, and why we should care.
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, my name's Jay Shetty and I'm the host of On Purpose. This week I interviewed Shawn Mendes. He started out sharing covers online and now he's one of the biggest names in music. He also uses his platform to raise awareness for causes he cares about, like mental health and climate change.
The reality is I don't have a deeper understanding of life. I just have a deeper acceptance of self.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one.
Hey fam, I'm Simone Boyce.
I'm Danielle Robay.
And we're the hosts of The Bright Side, the podcast from Hello Sunshine that's guaranteed to light up your day.
Check out our recent episode with Grammy Award-winning rapper Eve on motherhood and the music industry.
No, it's a great, amazing, beautiful thing. There's moms in all industries, very high stress industries that have kids all across this world. Why can't it be music as well?
Listen to The Bright Side from Hello Sunshine on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Teddy Mellencamp.
And Tamara Judge, better known as the Twats.
Yep, you heard that right. We're the hosts of Two Teas in a Pod.
For all the housewife lovers out there, every week we break down every episode and give you our opinions.
So join us as we stir the pot and get ourselves into some trouble. Okay, maybe a lot of trouble.
Listen to Two Teas in a Pod on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Señora Sex Ed is not your mommy's sex talk. This show is La Plática like you've never heard it before. We're breaking the stigma and silence around sex and sexuality in Latinx communities.
This podcast is an intergenerational conversation between Latinas from Gen X to Gen Z.
We're your hosts, Diosa and Mala. You might recognize us from our first show, Locatora Radio. Listen to Señora Sex Ed on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Episode 446, How to Vote with Your Dollar with Gigi Gimja.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are talking with our friend Gigi. I actually met her. I mentored her for a session last year. She was not even a beginning podcaster, but she was growing as a podcaster. And I listened to her show, which is now called Progressive Pockets. And I was just floored. I wanted everyone to hear her show. She's so knowledgeable about the ethics behind money. And I'm so excited to share her with you guys today.
She's a gem. This is the first time I got to meet her. I know you've had background with her, but I really enjoyed talking with her and hearing her just kind but actionable perspective. I think some really good tips for anyone at any stage of the process and figuring out where's the best place to be spending our money. So I'm excited for this one. But first, this episode is brought to you by making me happy. It's pretty easy to do, either by handing me a hot dog or pre-ordering our book. And if you don't live close enough to me to throw me a dog, then pre-ordering the book is the only other logical solution. It's a great investment for you and a friend if you want to give it as a gift, since we believe we've shared some super valuable ideas and action steps that will help you spend better and feel really confident about your money for the rest of your life, because we're talking about principles that you can apply at any stage and season of life. So just do it. Make my day. Pre-order the book. Buywhatyoulovebook.com. Make me happy.
Yay. All right. So today we're talking with Gigi Gimja. She's the host of the Progressive Pockets podcast. And we wanted this episode at the beginning of October, at the beginning of what is to be a very tense season in America, to really ground us with some foundational truths. When a lot of things feel out of your control, we want you to know that there are still some things that are in your control every single day. So we want this episode to be encouraging, not to feel overwhelming, like there's one more thing that you have to do, but to really say, there's a lot of things going on right now that I don't have control over, but I can do this one thing that I know will be a step in the right direction, even if it feels like other things are not going in the direction that I may want them. So that is our heart with this episode. And there's no better person to talk about it with than Gigi. Her podcast is about social impact and personal finance. It explores how everyday people can make the most of their financial choices, such as spending, donating, banking, and investing, to align with their values and contribute to building a better world. And it's not just through buying that we can contribute to contribute to the progress or the regress of what we want to see in the world. We can also do it through banking, investing, and donating. So you can pick all of them, one of them. There's a lot of freedom in this episode. We hope you feel that.
Let's talk to Gigi.
Gigi, welcome to the Frugal Friends podcast. I am so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
We talk so much on this podcast lately about values-based spending, and we've kind of taken it from this perspective of our personal values, our family values, but I'm really looking forward to hearing your perspective on how we can bring that out to a more macro level of our community values and our values as just a human being and the things that, the causes that we're passionate about. So thank you for coming to talk to us about these things.
Are you kidding? This is my favorite thing to talk about.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's lay some groundwork. When we say voting with your dollar, how can we use that as what does it mean, and how can we think of it as as something that is positive and foundational versus something that is maybe scary or unattainable?
Yeah. So using your money in a way that lines up with your values and your beliefs, that's exactly what voting with your dollar means. And I do remember your episodes. I'm a listener of Frugal Friends. I remember those episodes where you talked about values-based spending. I loved it. You talked about starting with an understanding of what's important to you. I've heard you both talk about family, friends, fulfilling work, faith, as being core values, and I can certainly relate to those. So what I'm educating people on with Progressive Pockets is that we also have community values, things that we care about. I have loved ones in California. They're really worried about the environment because they're looking at the wildfires and they're looking at the droughts, and they're also concerned about homelessness. I have loved ones in Florida, where you guys are, and especially those who are in Miami. They're really worried about the climate in another way, and it's even starting to affect what neighborhoods in Miami they're thinking about moving to. So they're also worried about the environment. I have friends. I have a really good friend from Indiana. And the thing we were just recently talking about for her, what keeps her up at night is animal welfare. So for me, I'll bring it to myself. One of my values that I think a lot about is the well-being of women and girls. So we all have community values, certain things that we want for society. And those are sometimes shaped by our lived experiences or the things that we learn as we're growing up. And we all have ways that we use our money. So let's take a minute to think about all the different ways we use money. Definitely we spend it, right? We give some of it away. We donate our money. We save some of it for a rainy day or maybe for some big goals that we have in the future. If we can, we invest some of it so we can someday retire. And so when you think about this, all of the ways that money is flowing in and flowing out of our wallets, we start to see that we're leaving a mark on the world. Where we decide to shop has power. Where we decide to donate our money has power. Where we bank, where we invest, where we donate, all of these things have power. And what I love talking about this stuff is it takes back some of that power. I think you'll agree with me when I say that billionaires shouldn't be the ones who get to shape our world. We have our wallets too. And you and I, your listeners, we know more about what our community needs than some billionaire does. So when I talk about voting with our dollars, that's really what it's about. It's saying, here's what's important to my community. You know, maybe there's a shortage of affordable housing or our neighborhoods are going to be at risk. Saying, here's what's important to my community. We have a shortage of affordable housing, or our neighborhoods are going to be at risk of rising sea levels, or the women and children in my community aren't safe. So when I think about where I shop, where I donate, where I invest, where I bank, I'm going to be looking for opportunities here and there where I can flex my wallet in line with the type of world I want to build.
This is really lovely. I just want to take a moment to comment. I just love listening to you talk, Gigi. I don't love it when people comment on our voices when it comes to our podcast, because usually it's negative feedback, but this is positive feedback. I'm just really enjoying listening to you talk. And then what you're saying is so inspiring. I would just want to listen to some speech of yours. But here we are. We're having a conversation. So I'm going to ask you questions. I love what you're describing here of all the ways that we spend money. They are decisions that we're making, whether or not we realize it. And we can be utilizing our money in a way that allows us to feed into and choose more of the things that are important to us. I also recognize for myself when I hear some of these things, recognizing that a lot of times knowledge leads to responsibility. It's like, okay, how can I know all that there is to know about the back end of companies and where the money's going, and how much can I really be responsible for knowing and choosing? And so with that, for your kind of average person, I'm going to put myself in that category, what would you say are some of the more simpler ways of figuring out where are the companies and the investment opportunities that align with our community values?
Oh, absolutely. So shopping locally, I want to start there. Shopping locally is an easy way to achieve a lot of those things at once. So we're supporting a local business, which creates a healthy local neighborhood and local economy. We are probably then buying food that's locally grown and in season. And so that's healthier for our bodies. And we're building relationships with a local shopkeeper and their staff. So that is healthier for our community. And shopping locally can also be more environmentally friendly because we're not shipping things all over the country and the world. So shopping locally can be an easy way to achieve a lot of those values that someone might have in mind. It can be really fun to do this when you're shopping for a gift. And the reason I say that is because in addition to achieving all of those things that we talked about, healthier for our bodies and our communities and the environment. Now there's this extra thing of you have introduced a loved one to a local business, and that kind of multiplies the effect. But sometimes shopping locally isn't an option, right? Let's be real about that. Maybe they don't have what you need, or you just don't have the capacity to shop locally right now. You are caring for aging parents or little kids. You're working 70 hours a week for whatever reason. Sometimes you just can't shop locally, and that's definitely okay. In that case, I like to look at the labels when I'm shopping. For example, you might see a label. It has like a bee with a circle around it. Maybe you've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the label for something called a B corporation. It sounds intimidating, but it's not. What it is, a B corporation is a company that has legally promised that they're not just going to try to make money and make profits. They are also legally binding themselves to caring about a healthy planet and people. So this is a really bold step for a company to go through to make this commitment. So I do look at the labels for that. If you do have time, I'm very realistic about this. There are scorecards online that you can look at to show how well a company does on certain things. So for example, maybe you're concerned about, like, you don't want to buy products that where the company used exploitative prison labor. There are scorecards online where you can really quickly look up to see which companies are doing that, or companies that are exploiting Black communities, or you can find, I've even seen websites where if you're ready to buy a new car, you can kind of look at how green the various options are. Or even, the other day I saw a website for real estate listings. If you're in the market to buy a new home and you want to look at a more sustainable home that's for sale, in the past, you kind of just had to build a new home yourself. But nowadays, there's so many different things. And then the last thing I'll suggest, this is kind of old school. So this is where the geriatric millennial in me comes out.
We're right there with you.
Okay. So it's old school, but I like to pick up the phone and get in touch with a friend to kind of ask their opinions. We all have that friend who does all the research, right? I know if I'm going to buy, it's a separate example, but if I'm going to buy a laptop, I know which friend to call that has done all the research and definitely made a spreadsheet and can, in 5 minutes, help me make a decision. And I'm happy to be that friend for people too. I love, reading about this stuff, talking to experts, researching it. So I'm happy to be your friend. And you can, definitely send questions to me anytime as well.
Yeah. The friend thing was actually the first thing that I thought of, because I, like you said, don't have a lot of time to purchase products locally, but I will purchase services locally. So I'll try to avoid franchises and chains and maybe places where I don't think they will pay their people as much. They're the easiest things to find. I try to avoid the easiest things to find by asking friends on Facebook and texting group chats to see their recommendations for people that are maybe harder to find, but in business for themselves. So having worked for a local business, a local service business, those are just as important to support versus the big service franchises. So it's not just products, it's also services. And that's how I do it, is just friends. And I had a friend who I was thinking about getting my car detailed because I was looking at it and the milk stains are everywhere. And I was like, I don't think I have the mental capacity to clean this. And then instantly she's posting on Facebook a couple hours later about how she just got her car detailed because her dog vomited in it. And the guy did a great job. And he said he's slow, like business wise. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. So like also being the person who is sharing like people in your community. Maybe you can't purchase a service from them or a product from them, but sharing is a helpful way to help others figure out how to keep money as locally as possible.
100%. I am picking up what you're putting down. Yes. Amen.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So, buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic. oracle.com/strategic.
I felt too seen, dragged.
I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
So I basically had what back in the day they would call a nervous breakdown.
I was crying and I was inconsolable.
It was just very big, sudden swaps of different meds.
What is wrong with me?
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Finally, a show for the mentally ill girlies. On Basket Case, I talk to people about what happens when what we call mental health is shaped by the conditions of the world we live in. Because if you haven't noticed, we are experiencing some kind of up conditions that are pretty hard to live with. But if you struggle to cope, the society that created the conditions in the first place will tell you there's something wrong with you, and it will call you a basket case. Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's me, Jay Shetty, and I'm the host of the award-winning podcast On Purpose. I created this show to bring you conversations that inspire, motivate, and help you navigate life a little easier. Every guest brings something special, whether it's about relationships, mental health, or finding your purpose. And this week, I had the opportunity to interview Shawn Mendes, a singer-songwriter known for his heartfelt lyrics and melodies. Shawn's music feels like an open diary, raw, relatable, and real. Beyond the music, he's all about using his platform for good, advocating for mental health and the environment.
It really comes down to the moment you're prepared to take responsibility for your life and for everything that goes wrong and for everything that goes right. And it's hard.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you'll not want to miss this one.
Hey fam, I'm Simone Boyce.
I'm Danielle Robay.
And we're the hosts of The Bright Side, the daily podcast from Hello Sunshine that is guaranteed to light up your day.
Every weekday, we bring you conversations with the culture makers who inspire us.
Like our recent episode with Grammy award-winning rapper Eve on her new memoir and the moments that made her.
It became a theme in my life, the underdog syndrome of being questioned, of would they say this to a man? No, they would not. Like, why? That was one of those moments where you're just like, oh, wow. It was a bit shocking, but it didn't take any steam away or anything like that. If anything, it was more of okay, I'll show you. No worries.
Listen to The Bright Side from Hello Sunshine on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Teddy Mellencamp.
And Tamara Judge, better known as the Twats.
Yep, you heard that right. We're the hosts of Two Teas in a Pod.
For all the housewife lovers out there, every week we break down every episode and give you our opinions.
We cover it all. OC, Jersey, Beverly Hills, New York City, Dubai. As we always say, you're only as good as last week's episode.
Plus, we're talking to all your favorite Bravo celebrities and not just housewives. We're putting your favorite people in the twat seat and getting the juicy stories everybody wants to know.
So join us as we stir the pot and get ourselves into some trouble. Okay, maybe a lot of trouble.
It's not really trouble when it's truthful. Let's just say we can be a little twatty.
Listen to Two Teas in a Pod on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So for someone with a tight budget, how can we make conscious purchasing choices? Because for a lot, like, it's very easy to think that being able to, quote unquote, vote with your dollar or being able to make better purchasing options is it's a privilege, right? And to an extent, that's true. It costs more money to buy products from certified B Corp companies. So how do we, as people of limited means, how can we venture into that or do the most with what little we have?
Yeah. And, it's funny because it's something that you've talked about before on your show. I've heard, other guests talk about the funny thing about being frugal is that it's often the better environmental choice too. And it's so funny how that is, so I've found that when I'm buying things, I try to buy them used if I can. If I need to buy something new, then buying something that's more durable, that's higher quality, so that I don't have to replace it as often. And it's funny that that's more frugal, but it's also more environmentally sustainable too. And then beyond shopping, there are other ways we can use our money to build up our communities without spending a dollar. So let's say you're saving for something that's important to you. Maybe that's why you're on this tight budget, is you're saving for your first emergency fund. That can be an amazing feeling to achieve that. I remember when, after years of really focusing on it, I was able to create my own emergency fund. And, I did the math, how many months of living expenses I needed. And it removed a lot of stress from my life. If your car needs a repair, if you lose your job, if you have a medical, like a dental emergency. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I'm willing to bet that, having an emergency account can change your life. It could probably lower your blood pressure. You'll probably get better sleep. But here's what I wanted to say about that is, not only are you improving your life, but you could improve somebody else's life too. And that comes in when you're thinking about where you stash that money. Or maybe in your case, you're saving up for your first home and saving up your down payment or something. But it's very powerful where we decide to put that money. You can put that cash in a big bank. You definitely can. And there are some banks that are doing good things with our money. They are funding affordable housing in our communities. They're making loans to small businesses and people that typically don't get the funding. But it's a good idea to check and just know what your bank is doing. There's a website that I use called mightydeposits.com. And I like it because you can kind of get like a scorecard on your bank. Because what some banks are doing with our cash, I mean, it's not just sitting there. Some banks are funding politicians or organizations that might not match up with your values. And some banks are not fair lenders. They discriminate against certain communities when it comes to giving mortgages or small business loans. And so what you can do is you can think about, where am I banking? And if you're not ready to move all your money over, maybe it's the cash that you don't really touch on a regular basis, like your emergency cash savings, or your down payment on that first home. Because there are some banks that you can also choose. Let's say you want to get away from the big banks. You're ready for that step. There are nonprofit banks that exist. There are community banks. They're incredible. Your money is just as safe as it is with a big bank. It's still FDIC insured. You are not going to lose your money, but they are nonprofits. And so what they're doing with your money, their responsibility is to protect your money and to make it accessible to low-income communities, for example. It's amazing. So if you're looking for one of those, all you have to do is look online, and you're going to look up something called a CDFI, and that stands for a Community Development Financial Institution. So even without spending a single dollar, you can still be flexing some power with your cash.
Yes, I think this is the most underrated way to make a big difference. And we even changed when we refinanced our mortgage, made sure we refinanced with our credit union that we knew was doing good stuff in the community, because we over 15 years will pay them a lot of interest. And who's going to get that interest payment? Our community or a big bank? And so, yes, I think this is, and I'm not spending any extra money. And actually, our credit union had a lower interest rate than some of the other banks that we looked at. So like, this is such a powerful way to make sure your money is doing good things.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, I have to think that a lot of other listeners like me, listeners of your show, have side hustles or small businesses, or, maybe they have some extra way that they earn cash on the side. That could be a time when you're setting up your bank account for that new side hustle where you go, you know what, I'm going to go with a credit union, a community bank of some kind, a nonprofit bank. And that way you're kind of setting up your side hustle, your small business with the values that kind of match who you are as a person. There's something, I don't know, something really cool about that.
Mm-hmm. You've given such tangible steps, like resources, places we can go, items to be looking up. And then I love too, Gigi, how you've mentioned the various ways that we are engaging with our money, from giving to spending to saving to investing. Even amongst those, I'm curious if you have thoughts on where would be the best place to start. If someone was to put their first foot in front of the other, is there one category that you think the barrier to entry is lower there for beginning to explore kind of using our money towards our values?
That's such a great question. I think probably the first thing I would advise is not to get, I know there's a new way of saying this, but again, as an elder millennial, decision paralysis, I think is the main thing, to not get overwhelmed with the research that you end up not making any changes at all. Sometimes we can fall down the rabbit hole and never get out of it. We have a pretty good idea. I'll use myself as an example. So, giving was something that we did as a family sporadically here and there. Wasn't super organized. We didn't have an annual goal of how much we were going to give. And at some point a few years ago, we decided, no, we actually want to make a goal. And that has been very, very satisfying feeling, because I think that having a looser grip on our money has honestly made us have more of an abundancy mindset. And it's almost like we're proving to ourselves by helping other people that if we someday need help, we will receive it. So, the next step for me was my investments. And I absolutely had decision paralysis. So I'm not a complicated investor. I'm not one of those, daily reading the newspaper, making investment decisions based on that. I am not that person. And also that's proven not to be the best strategy anyway. So I just buy index funds, your regular old index funds. And I had it in my heart that I wanted to kind of clean up my investments in terms of matching my values. So I wanted more like socially responsible investments. And I found one that was a good option. But then I made the mistake of holding out in case I found something better. You already know what happened. A month passed. I had not invested the money. I was looking for something better. 6 months passed. A year passed. Another year passed. And finally, I just had this realization of, what am I doing? This is not getting a tattoo. It's not a permanent decision. You know, I can choose something that's good enough for now, and then I can change my mind. And if I find something better, I can move that money anytime. I think that getting overwhelmed with trying to find something better can be the biggest mistake. So it kind of depends on where you are. For me, that's how I started. And then I think next for me was probably thinking about probably my banking. And that was scary because I don't know, I just kind of thought, what a logistical pain.
It is.
Yeah. But that's why I really like the idea of starting with like something that you're saving for, like our emergency cash savings. We don't touch that all the time. Thank goodness. That means we're not having emergencies. I'm grateful for that. And then also with, you know, like side hustles, like that has been like an easier place for me to start. That's not as logistically overwhelming.
Yeah, that's so helpful. And I'm sure our listeners can relate to this a ton. I can relate to it, at least I'll speak for me. In the start with whatever feels the most low-hanging fruit in it. And do what we can to avoid feeling too overwhelmed by it to the point where, we're paralyzed and we don't do anything. Small things in the right direction, even if it's not perfection, can still be super meaningful. So receiving that message. Speaking of small things in the right direction, though, and
that
something
so
that is
meaningful.
kind of permanent, but you're never going to want to take it back. The Bill of the Week.
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
Gigi, we may not have prepared you for the yelling, but I know you knew it was coming. And we want to ask you, like we ask all of our guests and our listeners, what is your Bill of the Week?
Oh, man. Okay. I just got back from visiting my parents, and I need to start by telling you that we are a frugal family. Okay. By the time I was 12 years old, I could teach someone the basics of comparison shopping and frugality at the grocery store. I remember saving to buy a backpack when I was in high school and then taking such good care of it that I used it into my 30s. I started working. I started working when I was around 14. I had a lot of jobs in high school. My parents were able to pay all of our household bills. So I had the choice of being able to save that money that I made, and I did. And I was able to save enough cash to buy barely what you could call a car and the textbooks for my first semester of college. So I'm trying to paint the picture here so you understand how funny this is, what happened a few days ago this weekend. So I was visiting my parents, and they're driving me to the airport, and my dad takes an exit before the airport. He pulls into this ATM to get cash. And I'm like, okay, boomer, like who still uses cash, right? And He hands it over to my mom. She doesn't put it in her wallet. She's holding these $20 bills. Okay. And then we pull into the airport. We get into the drop-off lane and we're hugging and kissing goodbye. I'm crying because even though it's been 25 years since I left home, I still cry every time I say bye to my parents. We're very close. And my mom hands me the $20 bills. And I'm like, what is this? And she says, your dad and I discussed it last night. We want you to take this cash. And I'm confused. What is this for? She says, I know we raised you to be frugal, but we want you to have fun too. Now, I want to be very clear in saying, I'm frugal. I am not deprived. I spend on the things that I value. So I'm going back and forth with them. We're in the drop-off lane. The traffic control lady with the fluorescent vest is trying to get us to like move so other passengers can get dropped off. I'm trying to put the money back in my mom's wallet. She will not take it. And so finally, I'm getting embarrassed. And so I say, fine, thank you, Mom and Dad. And I guess they can still read me pretty well because my mom looks into my eyes and she says, I can tell you're thinking about doing something responsible with this. I want you to do something frivolous with your friends.
Oh, Mom.
And my dad, in one of those ways that only a dad can really guilt trip you, says, if you want to make us happy, you'll go and have fun with your friends with this money. So that's my bill of the week. I have some $20 bills. I have to spend frivolously with my friends. Apparently.
Yes.
This is one of the more heartwarming.
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
What do you
And now taking suggestions. I mean, one of my group chats right now, my girlfriends are talking about a new Fenty mascara, which apparently is like $15 a pop. So I'm like, okay, everybody could get a mascara. I think I'll have some $20 bills after that. So I'm very open to suggestions.
Wow. Frivolous. I don't know, a pedicure
My
maybe?
mind goes to, and this shows how frugal I am. I've recently begun really honing in the definition of frugality just to be resourceful. And I've noticed for me in particular, I want to squeeze as much out of my money. Even if I were charged with fun and frivolity like you were, it would still be how much fun
Exploit
and
the frivolity.
frivolous decisions can I make with this?
How many bad decisions can I make with this money? As many as possible.
100%. I mean, half of me wants to walk down the street with my friends and just hand out $20 bills because how fun I actually think that would be a memory we would have forever. It would be so fun. And then maybe for the other half, we go to like, I don't know, Sweet Green and get some lunch. I mean, that actually, do I even have enough for that? Nowadays, it's like $20 a person to have lunch. So.
Yeah, one of you can eat, the rest can watch. This is amazing, Gigi. My heart is warmed. Your parents sound like the salt of the earth. And I love the part about your father and I talked about this last night. Like it was a discussion that we're going to stop at the ATM and pull out cash and how much cash and how are we going to tell her that she has to spend it on having fun. Like the whole thing, the whole scene is adorable.
I love it. I love the story.
This is a great bill. If any of you all listening have a bill that you want to submit, if it's about your heartwarming boomer parents or about still using cash or what you would do with a $20 bill or what you have done with a $20 bill or what you like to do as a person named Bill, Frugal Friends.
Don't admit to anything illegal on my podcast. I'm going to say that. Don't admit to anything illegal here.
You can't
protect
us.
you.
We won't air it.
I can't promise.
Frugalfriendspodcast.com/Bill. Leave it for us.
I felt too seen. Dragged.
I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
So I basically had what back in the day they would call a nervous breakdown.
I was crying and I was inconsolable.
It was just very big sudden swaps of different meds.
What is wrong with me?
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Finally, a show for the mentally ill girlies. On Basket Case, I talk to people about what happens when what we call mental health is shaped by the conditions of the world we live in. Because if you haven't noticed, we are experiencing some kind of up conditions that are pretty hard to live with. But if you struggle to cope, the society that created the conditions in the first place will tell you there's something wrong with you, and it will call you a basket case. Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's me, Jay Shetty, and I'm the host of the award-winning podcast On Purpose. I created this show to bring you conversations that inspire, motivate, and help you navigate life a little easier. Every guest brings something special, whether it's about relationships, mental health, or finding your purpose. And this week, I had the opportunity to interview Shawn Mendes, a singer-songwriter known for his heartfelt lyrics and melodies. Shawn's music feels like an open diary, raw, relatable, and real. Beyond the music, he's all about using his platform for good, advocating for mental health and the environment.
It really comes down to the moment you're prepared to take responsibility for your life and for everything that goes wrong and for everything that goes right. And it's hard.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you'll not want to miss this one.
Hey fam, I'm Simone Boyce.
I'm Danielle Robay.
And we're the hosts of The Bright Side, the daily podcast from Hello Sunshine that is guaranteed to light up your day.
Every weekday, we bring you conversations with the culture makers who inspire us.
Like our recent episode with Grammy award-winning rapper Eve on her new memoir and the moments that made her.
It became a theme in my life, the underdog syndrome of being questioned, of would they say this to a man? No, they would not. Like, why? That was one of those moments where you're just like, oh, wow. It was a bit shocking, but it didn't take any steam away or anything like that. If anything, it was more of okay, I'll show you. No worries.
Listen to The Bright Side from Hello Sunshine on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Teddy Mellencamp.
And Tamara Judge, better known as the Twats.
Yep, you heard that right. We're the hosts of Two Teas in a Pod.
For all the housewife lovers out there, every week we break down every episode and give you our opinions.
We cover it all. OC, Jersey, Beverly Hills, New York City, Dubai. As we always say, you're only as good as last week's episode.
Plus, we're talking to all your favorite Bravo celebrities and not just housewives. We're putting your favorite people in the twat seat and getting the juicy stories everybody wants to know.
So join us as we stir the pot and get ourselves into some trouble. Okay, maybe a lot of trouble.
It's not really trouble when it's truthful. Let's just say we can be a little twatty.
Listen to Two Teas in a Pod on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In a galaxy far, far away.
No, babe, that's taken. We're in our own world, remember?
Right. In our own world, we're two space cadets.
And totally normal humans.
Sure, totally normal humans.
Embark on a journey across the stars, discovering the wonders of the universe one episode at a time.
We'll talk about life, love, laughter, and why you should never argue with your co-pilot.
Especially when she's always right.
Right. And if we hit turbulence, just blame it on Mercury retrograde.
Or Emily's questionable space piloting skills.
Hey, join us on In Our Own World for cosmic conversations, stellar laughs,
and super corny dad jokes.
Listen to In Our Own World as a part of the My Cultura podcast network, available on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't worry, we promise to avoid any black holes.
Most of the time.
And now it's time for
the lightning round. Pew! All right, today
I'm crying.
I'm
sorry.
I love it. I love making our guests cry.
I'm crying.
I love it.
Okay.
All right. What is one way that you, like your favorite way you align your spending with what matters to you? Your favorite way.
Yeah. It's not exactly spending, but it's still a money thing. I like to try to talk to other women about money, even though it's taboo, especially younger women. I like to push myself to open up and talk about, how I think about financial security as a woman. Or I've been in situations where I knew that a woman was being underpaid. And so, I had information about that. So I try to push myself out of my comfort zone to really talk about this taboo subject. So, it's not exactly spending, but it is a money thing that I try to do.
Yeah, advocacy is super important. And that's the knowledge paired with then responsibility piece. But you're doing it, Gigi.
I'm trying to.
There will never be enough people, especially women, talking about money.
Right.
I mean, we all got to get coffee and talk about what we're buying, what we're making, what we're investing in to just demystify it. People are scared to talk about money because they're not experts. And if we just put a kibosh on that idea, and you don't have to be an expert, you just share what you've learned. That's how Jill and I started this podcast, sharing what we've learned. We don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have the credentials.
But see, and by the way, there are a lot of dudes talking about money on many podcasts that do not know what they're talking about. So that's why it's important that there's shows like yours where, okay, maybe you're not the world expert on money, but you're an expert on your money and decisions you've made, and you're open and willing to share that with others. I think that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. For me,
what about you, Jen?
So I already shared how we bank at a credit union. Our mortgage is at a credit union. Well, one of our mortgages is at a credit union. And so that's probably my favorite way. But I will also say that my favorite, my stick it to the man favorite way is just every time I say no to buying something. Because in my head, I'm like, I am telling that company that the way they are doing things, this fast fashion, fast product turnover, cheap crap sort of system does not jive with me. And I will not play into it. I am not a pawn in your game. I am not going to fund your yacht.
Oh my God, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up. Exactly.
So just not buying, not everything. I buy a lot of stuff, but I love that. Every time I say no, I feel good.
That flip of mindset too. With a no, you're saying I'm not contributing to your yacht. That's fun for those of us who are spicy and feisty, but have trouble with impulse purchases. There's your mantra. That's great.
Every time I don't subscribe to Amazon Prime, I say I'm not funding your spaceship. So that's also when people are like, "Why don't you have Prime?" I was like, "I don't need any more, spaceships in my life."
Oh man, I felt that in my spirit. Yes.
Okay, sorry, Jill. Go.
No, it's so good. I don't have anything quite as fun as that, but one of the things I feel, I guess I'll use this word, a little proud of is my husband and I just have one vehicle. And that decision, I feel, helps in many ways the community, the environment, but also our wallets. And so it also saves us a ton of money to only have one vehicle. It's rarely a sacrifice, thankfully, because we both work from home. But it does free up some money for other things that we find important. And one of the things I've been realizing, because I do still keep a transaction inventory essentially as I go through our money every month, it is really valuable to me to give gifts to people and to be as generous as I can be with my money. And I think connecting those dots, that some of these larger decisions I've made on housing and transportation is what allows for some of that generosity, which I'm so glad you brought up, Gigi. It's a topic we don't cover all that often. We've done a few episodes on it, but I think is really important, especially for those of us who even feel as though we're on a tight budget or we want to be frugal, but kind of the ways in which we can still be generous, where there are opportunities to give back, whether in time or money or other resources. So those are the things that feel like most life-giving to me, are the choices I can make that create margin for giving to other people with whatever resource I do have. So there we all have it. Gigi, you've been a wonderful guest, and I know we all want more from you. So tell us where we can find you.
Okay, you can hear from me every week on my podcast. It's called Progressive Pockets. You won't be surprised to find out that the website is progressivepockets.com. And I guess I joined Twitter right at the exact moment that so many people were leaving, but I am there. My Twitter account is Progressive Pockets if you remove all the vowels. And I really enjoyed talking with you both today. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been lovely having
Thank you so
Thanks,
much, Gigi. I feel like a lot more empowered right now. I knew a lot of this, but it is easy to lose perspective when there's so much going on.
I think these are the reminders that we need to just do a check-in. It's not necessarily something that has to be top of mind every single day, every minute, but keeping a pulse on, okay, is my money going towards the things that I say are valuable, both to me and my family, as well as the things that I find valuable for my community, the causes that I want to be supporting. It's just a really good check-in. And I think anytime someone can take us back to the basics like she did of here's all the ways we utilize our money. And at each one of these building blocks, there's decisions we can make that are can be really beneficial and aligned with where we want our money to be going. So and as you know, I just enjoyed listening to her. So that was a fun one for me.
Yeah. And so much flexibility, so much, pick one thing and just start there and then move on to the next thing. Let's not get overwhelmed with all there is to do. Let's start in the lowest barriers to entry and then move on from there. But thank you so much for listening. We are so thankful for you, and we love reading your kind reviews. Especially loved this one from Ellen Sater. It happened to be 5 stars. It's called My Weekly Addiction. She says, Jen and Jill never fail to inspire me to dig a little deeper and do a little more for my wallet. With this help, I've watched my savings grow, my food waste diminish. I love the variety of topics and different ways I can think about aligning my spending with my values. Frugal Friends compliments my efforts and keeps me motivated. I love to listen to them while working on my side hustle. Bonus points for never being stuffy and always making me feel connected about life and spending. Thank you.
Whoa, Ellen, those are some really great words. Thank you so much for being so specific about the things that you enjoy and letting us get a little bit of a glimpse of the specific ways this podcast has helped you. It's really cool to see that what we're talking about is actually helping you have more margin in your finances and diminish food waste. That is great. I love the variety of topics we cover too. That's very fun for me. It isn't stuffy. You're right, Ellen. Wow. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you all for your kind reviews. And if you've not left us a review yet, please do so wherever you are listening to this. It really helps us a ton. And it's another way you can make me happy.
Yes. We'll see you next time.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Sirianni.
Okay, Jen, we have to tell our friends.
Oh, there's so many things. There's so many things. What do we have to tell them?
Okay, so you and I, as you know, hung out last night. We went to a book.
Yes.
Yep. We went to a book signing of our friend who lives here in St. Pete near us, who just put out her book, 12 Trips in 12 Months. And we got to get a glimpse of our futures in about 3 to 4 months where we will be doing book signings. Please come, by the way, please come to those.
Yeah.
And it was so fun. And we bought a book on the company card, as we do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And when we were in line to purchase this book, Jen saw a sticker. It was some sort of turtle theme with a pun, some sort of turtle pun. Do you remember?
It was a turtle and it said, "Shall know." Like,
yes.
Right? It was so good. Yeah. I love turtles. This is not a thing I share very widely, but I love turtles. Not just because of that meme with the little boy. I loved them way before.
Yeah.
And that was just annoying for me. But I actually do love turtles.
Yes. And this was a very cute, very punny little sticker. And Jen so adorably grabs it, sees it immediately, falls in love, turns to me and says, "Can we get this too?" Because I have now taken over the business finances. So I let people know whether or not they can have something.
Ask permission.
And my immediate reaction is like, yes, of course, it's a sticker. Literally at the same exact time, our eyes go to the sticker's price. And we both remark at the same time, not for $4.
That's exactly what we said at the same time. Oh, not for $4.
Like, we refuse. Even when we're using the company card to purchase the thing, both of us have no value for getting the sticker at a whopping $4. Shall know. It wasn't worth it.
Shall know. Shall know. And I don't know what price I would have paid for it anymore. Like, I don't know what I was expecting.
I thought $1.50. Honestly, that's the sticker price.
I would have paid. Yeah, I would have paid that.
Maybe even $2.25, but $4. But just
I would have paid $2.50 for sure.
There were so many things that culminated to just make this a hilarious moment where we both were on board with getting it. We knew it'd be on the company card, and our eyes went to the price of it at the same exact time. And we both had the same exact reaction. And we did not buy the sticker. We bought the book. We did not buy the sticker. Could Frugal Friends afford it? Yes. Did we value it? Shall know. It wasn't worth it to us.
That was, and then we laughed
about it.
We laughed very loudly. And I think we made some people uncomfortable.
Probably. They didn't know what to do with us.
In a bookstore at night.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
but that was a moment that I won't forget. Shall know.
Yes. The Frugal Friends out in the wilds, literally living out, practicing what we preach, and really becoming one person, slowly but surely. We the same.
We the same.
I'm NK, and this is Basket Case.
What is wrong with me?
A show about the ways that mental illness is shaped by not just biology,
swaps of different meds,
but by culture and society. By looking closely at the conditions that cause mental distress, I find out why so many of us are struggling to feel sane, what we can do about it, and why we should care.
Oh, look at you giving me therapy, girl.
Listen to Basket Case every Tuesday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, my name's Jay Shetty, and I'm the host of On Purpose. This week, I interviewed Shawn Mendes. He started out sharing covers online, and now he's one of the biggest names in music. He also uses his platform to raise awareness for causes he cares about, like mental health and climate change.
The reality is I don't have a deeper understanding of life. I just have a deeper acceptance of self.
Listen to On Purpose with Jay Shetty on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust me, you won't want to miss this one.
Hey fam, I'm Simone Boyce.
I'm Danielle Robay.
And we're the hosts of The Bright Side, the podcast from Hello Sunshine that's guaranteed to light up your day.
Check out our recent episode with Grammy Award-winning rapper Eve on motherhood and the music industry.
No, it's a great, amazing, beautiful thing. There's moms in all industries, very high stress industries that have kids all across this world. Why can't it be music as well?
Listen to The Bright Side from Hello Sunshine on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Teddy Mellencamp.
And Tamara Judge, better known as the Twats.
Yep, you heard that right. We're the hosts of Two Teas in a Pod.
For all the housewife lovers out there, every week we break down every episode and give you our opinions.
So join us as we stir the pot and get ourselves into some trouble. Okay, maybe a lot of trouble.
Listen to Two Teas in a Pod on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Captain's log, stardate 2024. We're floating somewhere in the cosmos, but we've lost our map.
Yeah, because you refused to ask for directions.
It's Space Jam, there are no roads.
Good point. So, where are we headed?
Into the unknown, of course. Join us on In Our Own World as we uncover hidden truths, navigate the depths of culture, identity, and the human spirit.
With a hint of mischief.
One episode at a time.
Buckle up and listen to In Our Own World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Trust us, it's out of this world.